Hello, nobody. While we wait for some people to rock up, let me hit the share screen and play something. Let's get our volume right. Let's hit the mute button.
Terry, you're about to see one of the most perplexing cases being investigated by Australian police. 4 people, including a couple and their 6-year-old daughter, appear to have vanished off the face of the planet. They were last seen in Western Australia 6 years ago. Theories about their disappearance range from the sinister to the bizarre. Nick Way investigates this very disturbing case.
Deep in the Jarrah forests of Western Australia is the tiny town of Nannup, the perfect place for those in search of an alternative lifestyle. And in 2003, 4 people moved to this remote farmhouse outside town for just that reason. There's daughter Leela, her mother Chantel,
Come over here, you've got to see yourself in the camera.
longtime friend Tony Poppich, and Chantel's partner and Leela's dad, Simon Cadwell. They've lived together in places like this in WA for 4 years.
They're in their own world, aren't they? Really, though.
The last time we saw her, just remembering her with her long hair flying around our back garden, around the rose garden.
She's very loud and she's in your face.
You're taking a movie, aren't you?
Leela was absolutely gorgeous. She was a giggly little girl. She was full of life, good friend to my daughters. Just a beautiful little kid. Yeah, she's centre of her mum and dad's universe.
While Simon doesn't work and spends most of his time inside the house, Chantel settles into Nannup quickly. She teaches swimming, sells makeup, and sews clothes.
She's just in people's lives, in the community, as a visible person in the community.
Their 40-year-old housemate, Tony Poppich, works at the local hardware store.
She related easily and well to people, and even during idle moments. Excellent employee.
Quickly made friends in the little town of Nannup. Simon Cadwell remained very secretive. And that's just the way he wanted it.
He was a control freak, you might as well say that.
Chantel was just 16 when she met Simon Cadwell in Melbourne. He was 32.
Yeah, I found him creepy. Bit. I'd find him maybe even sleazy.
She always walked behind him, never in front of him, never beside him. It was always behind him.
There's the dogs. Leela loved the dogs.
Chantel's parents, Jim and Kathy McDougall, visited their daughter in Nannup, but always felt uneasy around Simon Cadwell.
He wouldn't let me take a picture of them together, so I used to have to sit the camera on the desk and just keep pushing the button. That's why I got a lot of these photographs, so he didn't know I was taking his pictures. And he told Kathy that Chantel wasn't from this planet, she was from another planet. Then you start to think, well, which planet's this guy from,
Just, he didn't look right. He didn't look right at all. He was pretty spooky.
Every time Chantel comes into town to work at the fish and chip shop or the hotel, Simon waits and watches.
She would just be so scared from the look that Simon gave her from just sitting out the back. She just wasn't allowed to, associate or talk to any of the other customers that are out in the back in the beer garden. She just was like, she froze. She was, scared.
And you could see that he had that power, he'd obviously drilled it into her as well, and she believed it all as well. I mean, I think she was brainwashed, for sure.
So he didn't want Leela or Chantel. They weren't going to go on to the next plane.
In 2007, a transformer is set up on a power pole near the house. Simon Cadwell becomes very agitated.
We tried to connect it up
and he got real hypo about the electrical interference from the transformer. He reckons it was going to kill him to the point where practically he'd come out in red hives on his face, and you could actually see the hives and the stress levels going through the roof.
Around 3 months after the transformer goes up, everything changes abruptly. Simon, Chantel, Leela and housemate Tony simply vanish. A note is pinned to the door.
This appears to have been the last communication from Chantel. She's writing to Beth and Lyndon, that's the landowners. We've left suddenly due to the lack of sleep created by the electromagnetic field. We have moved overseas to Brazil.
Before she writes the note, Chantel telephones her parents. She tells them Simon has already left for Brazil and that she and Leela are about to follow.
To me, she sounded excited they were off on a new adventure. I guess, what do you think?
Yeah, I think she sounded excited about going and helping people over there, because I said, why are you going? And she said, oh, the people have got the same spiritual interests over there.
Jim and Kathy never hear from Chantel again. 3 months after the call, they report Chantel and 6-year-old Leela missing. As police swing into action, they uncover some alarming information.
From what we can understand through our inquiries with immigration, these people have not left Australia on an aircraft or by sea for that matter.
Then, as police delve deeper into the case, they discover that Simon Cadwell is not the person he claims to be.
Join us for the second part of this mystery after the break, where you'll learn a lot more about Simon Cadwell. Four people from the remote town of Nannup in Western Australia disappeared 6 years ago, including 6-year-old Leela McDougall. The investigation into the mystery took a sinister turn when police delved more deeply into the background of the group's leader, Simon Cadwell. Nick Way continues with part 2 of this disturbing story.
6 years ago, Chantel, her daughter Leela, housemate Tony Poppich and Simon Cadwell disappear mysteriously from this house. As the investigation begins, police discover Simon Cadwell is the author of a doomsday book, Servers of the Divine Plan, published on the web in 1998. It gains him up to 50 devotees from around the world.
The book was about the coming of a new era after a 75,000-year cycle. Cadwell himself believed that we as beings existed in a higher plane.
I remember them sort of saying that they don't belong on this earth and they can't wait to leave it. You know that movie Powder? It's a guy who's a bit like an alien. I think he's albino. I've only seen it like years ago, but that was their favourite movie.
And, like an alien, Simon Cadwell could steal other people's identities.
His real name isn't Simon Cadwell. His real name is Gary Felton. And what's happened is he's assumed that identity by stealing a document belonging to a colleague in the UK and obtaining a false passport.
It just makes me wonder, what was he hiding? How bad was what he was doing to have to do that?
Simon's spiritual journey took him from ashrams in India to communes in America. Even here in Nannup, he tried growing a potent hallucinogenic herb, which he believed would help prepare him for Judgment Day.
But the ayahuasca potion fails to produce the desired effect. Last web post is late June 2007. He writes, "I'm exhausted, and the only option left is to leave this world." He also tells one of his female American internet followers he's considering taking the suicide drug Nembutal with his family.
His friend Sharon cautioned against such action and indicated to him that the death of his daughter Leela would amount to murder, at which Cadwell reneged on the idea and made mention that perhaps instead he'd wander off in the wilderness where they would live in isolation.
You know, you'd hope you wouldn't be able to do that to your child, but if their beliefs are so strong and they're so brainwashed, you don't really know, do you?
Around the same day Chantel calls her parents for the last time, she also sells her car for $4,000 and banks the cheque. It's the last reported sighting of her.
What I find intriguing about this story is why would they sell their possessions, including their prized dogs and their motor vehicles, to relocate to Brazil, and to this day not 1 cent has been taken out of their bank accounts. The question is, was it murder? Or was it just an elaborate ploy to completely disappear?
The fact that these people haven't accessed any of their bank accounts, haven't come under notice of any of the government agencies, does cause us serious concern that they may have met with foul play, and it may have been a murder-suicide pact.
You can't just disappear 4 people without someone helping you, because they walked out of the house and left everything in the house and vanished.
So here's the timeline of events here in Western Australia, but compounding this mystery, there were 3 suicides associated with the Cadwell sect shortly after.
That's correct. Days after the disappearances, a man in Canada who was a disciple of Cadwell's beliefs committed suicide in his country, and a year thereafter a couple in Massachusetts in the USA did likewise.
Intriguingly, 2 of those 3 people had visited Cadwell in Nannup sometime earlier. American Christina Parrott was another devotee who later committed suicide. Before taking a lethal dose of Nembutal, she wrote this letter to her parents.
This world has become too oppressive and dense, barely breathe sometimes. This world has become so darkened and separated from the divine, struggling each day to find purpose, and felt that it was simply time to leave.
So did Chantel, Leela, Tony and Simon Cadwell also follow the same desperate path? Well, police have just released new information that throws the case into even deeper mystery. Days after Chantel and Leela were last seen, someone using Tony Poppich's mobile phone boarded a train to Perth. This person bought the ticket under the name of J. Roberts.
There is one person that we know for a fact did leave Nannup and travel on that train.
Less than an hour after the train arrives in Perth, a man calling himself Tony Poppich books a double room at a backpackers lodge. Given Simon Cadwell's history of stealing identities, was this really Tony Poppich? Or was it Simon Cadwell himself?
He checked into the underground backpackers hostel in Northbridge, where he apparently produced photographic identification in the form of his driver's licence to the receptionist.
Just before 7 the next morning, the man catches a taxi to the East Perth railway station. Once more, a train ticket is bought in the name of J. Roberts. This time, it's a ticket to Kalgoorlie.
So, who got on the train that morning? Was it Tony Poppich? Right here, 16 in Kai the 16th, 2007.
And we would ask anyone who was on that service that morning, or for that matter, any Trans-WA service on that morning, who may have been in company with anyone by the name of J. Roberts, to give Crime Stoppers a call and pass that information on to us.
Even after 6 years, Kathy and Jim McDougall still hold out hope that their daughter Chantel and granddaughter Leela are still alive and out there somewhere.
We really love you both. We would love to just hear if you're okay and safe and happy, or if you need help to get some message to us, and we could help you.
That's always been our message. Come home.
Such a sad and baffling case, and it's just so hard to imagine how 4 people have simply vanished.
Okay, So you're all wondering, what the fuck is she tripping on? Here's what happened, all right? I tried to go to sleep last night listening to Auntie Deb, and it just wasn't happening. And then about 2 o'clock this morning, this popped up in my feed, so I watched it, and I was like, no way. How the hell can this be linked to Massachusetts? So if I sound a little deeper in voice and tired, it's because I am. I haven't been to bed all night. Anyway, so how do we go? How do I explain this? All right, there's going to be a mission. We need to go on a mission. There's going to be some word fuckery too going on here because I'm tired, so bear with me. This was actually published in 2013, this story that we just watched. Since then, there's been a coroner's inquest, and you might not be familiar with those over there, but it's kind of the same as having a medical examiner kind of judge kind of deal that goes over the case. And so if you can get, your loved one declared dead, then you get some sort of closure. And I guess there's other things that go with that. Probably in America, insurance. I don't know. There's other things that go with it here in Australia too. But essentially, the family asked, I think it was in 2016, if the coroner would declare the mother and the child deceased. And so they did a major investigation. And so, like, part of the thinking here is the worst cops in Australia, the ones who do the worst, like, investigations, the ones who have set people up for things they haven't done, have been in Western Australia. There's other states. I think Tasmania's probably got a bit of a reputation as well, but certainly not as bad as Western Australia. And I'm not saying all the cops in Western Australia are bad. It's kind of like Massachusetts. They're just, these pockets of crappy cops. So essentially, those two things. So there's this cult linked to people who did this to themselves in Massachusetts, and then there's this element of corruption that goes on in some of WA that's kind of like how it goes down in Massachusetts. So yeah, New South Wales drops the ball sometimes too. I mean, New South Wales is certainly a lot better than they used to be. Used to be some terrible crap that went on pretty much over all the states. If you want to go back to, like, the 80s and the cocaine cowboy era, it was all pretty bad back then. But anyway, the point is the coroner decided not to rule them dead. And the reason that he did that is because there is a small likelihood that this guy maybe offed the other three and then started a new cult online. So I wanted to read some of the coroner's report to you. But essentially, the medical examiner, the doctor that they had, so a profiling expert, presented some evidence, well, just opinions, to the coroner, that given his pattern and the way he behaved, it was more likely that he has gone on to continue with his narcissistic cult thing that these people get into. But anyway, I think we should all go look and see what's out there that's still going on that could be linked to Australia just because of this case. And maybe we can help find what happened through that, maybe find what happened to the mother and the daughter. So let me share this tab just so you can see. So this is Western Australia, and Nannup's way the hell down here in the bottom corner, and it's about 280 kilometres or 174 miles south of Perth, that's Perth, and Nannup's down here. Okay, so that sort of tells you where we are. Whole town's got like a history in the early settlers kind of history. What else have we got here? So that's where they were last seen in Nannup. What do we got next? Yeah, okay, so the ridiculousness of the bloody police. So a lot of things were called in, like once this goes on the TV, you know, they do get a lot of calls. That show we just watched is called Wanted, and I don't think it airs anymore, but it was basically, you know, these are the most wanted people in Australia, and they get, you know, a billion bloody phone-ins. Everybody thinks they've seen something. So essentially they got a lot of calls from having aired it on Wanted, and the police didn't really investigate much at all. So this is talking about the Coronial Inquest, and so this is in December of 2017, so this is after the Coronial Inquest. That's the background that we just heard. Coroner Barry King is probing their suspected deaths at the request of Miss Dougal's parents. Miss McDougal's I told you that was going to happen because I haven't slept. The four left behind a house full of furniture but few personal belongings. In his testimony, Senior Sergeant Gregory Balfour said, I'm going to be terrible at reading tonight. There were 4 reported sightings of the family in the Bustleton area in 2008, but police did not investigate due to lack of evidence. You got people reporting it. Isn't that just like evidence, the fact that there's reports? He said 3 months after Miss McDougal disappeared, prison workers also reported finding a woman's T-shirt along with the smell of dead flesh in the bushland near Northcliffe, which is just a little bit northwest of Nannup. However, the report was not fully investigated until 2015, which is BS. So, you know, we've got solo cup investigators, obviously, by which time bushfires had swept through the area. It was also revealed items belonging to Miss McDougal were found at the Nannup tip, but also never investigated. So we heard about that part. So the pizza delivery driver's creepy encounter. So the one who ended up at the Backpackers ordered pizza, apparently. Police believed Mr. Popich checked into the Backpackers hostel in Northbridge on July 15th, a day after the last reported sighting of Miss McDougal. A pizza delivery driver was the last known person to see him alive when he delivered food to him that night in Bushland in Perth's Kings Park. The man now lives in Malaysia. This is the pizza man. Later described the encounter to police as unusual and creepy. Senior Sergeant Balfour told the inquest police believed Mr. Poppich used a fake name to travel on several bus, train routes spanning from Northcliffe to Kalgoorlie in the 2 days after leaving Nannup, but his final destination was unknown. And the parents are continuing to hold out hope. So this is before the hearing has actually finished, all right? But I do have actually the report from the hearing in 2017. But as you can see, the police were pretty crappy at investigating the leads that they were getting. So let me just look here and see what we got happening, because I wasn't reading any of this. Hey, Indie Girl, thanks for joining us. Iris, the majority of what police do is just traffic violations, and they do very little, if anything, to prevent or investigate crimes. Yeah, well, like I said, Amy, I would like to believe that most police are actually worthy of being police, and that's just the few that are crap. Oh, there was a podcast, was there? Okay, yes, it is very Chad Daybell-ish. So this dude had very Chad Daybell kind of things going on, but more in the esoteric kind of way than Chad Daybell's was all very LDS doctrine. Thanks for tuning in. The gentleman in Canada, did they name him? Yes, his name was what was his name? They all got it wrong. Like, hang on, I'll go back to the coroner's report. Share this tab. The gentleman in Canada, if I look for there we go. So the gentleman in Canada was this name, Alexander Fomenov. So he and Helgeson had travelled together to Australia and visited this Chad Daybell character. And so, yeah, he did that to himself on Nembitol. I'm not even trying to say any of these medication names, so I can't even read bloody plain English right now because I'm so tired. But then we got Hegelson and his girlfriend Christina Parrott also did that on pentobarbital. So the thing is, all of the news outlets are reporting like weird stuff that really doesn't connect. Like in this one here, 2 seemingly happy Canadian backpackers took their own lives after meeting WA-based leader of a doomsday cult who disappeared a decade ago. The revelations were made at the Coronial Inquest, blah, blah, blah. The Canadian couple see what I mean? They've got this freaking the wrong way around. That's not the Canadian couple. So I'm not sure. We're in their mid-20s or holidaying, went to Nannup to meet Cadwell. So, and then they're down here, they're like, Miss Fomenov. Oh, that Alexander is a miss. It's a lady's name. Took her own life in Canada a week after the 4 went missing. A month later, on August 26, Mr. Helgeson and another woman, Christine Arnott, also died of a drug. Now, this name does not appear in the coroner's report at all, and they're not others. That it's actually looking back at the coroner's report, it's actually boyfriend and girlfriend that did that. And so those two are both from Massachusetts. So we did find, I will shout out, who was it that helped me find that? Let's go back. Let me see who helped me find that. Somewhere here. Whoops, you don't need to read private messages. Here we go. So Nora, thank you. Nora, Ms. Garbage Brain, did find the Christina Parrott obituary, but we didn't find anything on the other name. And the other name is not mentioned in the coroner's report. And so, you know, once the media puts, you know, one thing out, we end up with, you know, the next media puts out the same story, and then the next media, you know, and it just goes on. They just feed off each other and everyone gets the freaking story wrong. So we basically worked out that that's what's going on. Thank you, Shari D, for the membership. And Iris, welcome to the members, the bony ass level. Bonus. That's meant to be the bonus level. But I like to say bony ass, just so you know what that means. Anyway, so essentially, yeah, the media's all just repeated this same story, and they've all got it wrong as to, you know, who's who in this story. I don't even know where Arnott came up, because it wasn't mentioned in the Coronial report at all. So we've got, you know, incompetent police not following up leads, and now we've got, you know, stupidity of media doing stupid shit like they always do. So, bit of a mess. I'm still thinking that there is an avenue to follow here. And I should have just shared this screen back again, because this one tells us a lot more than what they're telling us, what the media is saying. I just don't think the media knows how to freaking read. Like, just read, guys. So if I just, this is right at the bottom of the report. This is a 53-page document, essentially. So we've basically got the introduction. We know who the members of the group are. We've got those three people. So Simon's spiritual beliefs on page 18. Well, let's do that one. So if we actually let's just go to the end of the report. Let's start there, and then you'll be following what the heck I'm on about. So the conclusion that the coroner drew was, as noted in the introduction above, in order to conclude that any one or more of Chantal, Leela, Tony, and Simon is dead, I must find that the death or deaths have been established beyond a reasonable doubt. There are reasonable bases to ground a belief that the group are dead, especially the fact that they have not been in touch with their respective families for over 10 years. There is also evidence, especially the evidence relating to Simon's apparent despondency and his belief in ascension, which would, if accepted, support a conclusion that he is dead. However, given the nature and quantity of the evidence inconsistent with any of their deaths, I cannot be satisfied to the required standard of proof that any of them is dead. For the sake of clarity, I must add that my conclusion does not mean that I have found any of them as alive. I must also emphasize that my conclusion is based on the evidence presently available. Okay, so in making that assumption, he looks at, you know, what the evidence was that was put before him. So Sergeant Balfour, He seems pretty incompetent to me. Sounds like he should work for mass state police, but went on to submit that the following evidence supports a contrary hypothesis. Oh, hang on. He comes up with two. Let's start with this one. Balfour went on to submit that an inference may be drawn from the following evidence that the members of the group are now dead. A, they have not accessed bank funds. B, they had not contacted family. C, they had not been recorded as having left Australia, but that is in question, and I'll come to why. They have not come under the notice of any authorities or government agencies. Their spiritual beliefs about ascension to a higher plane through death. Simon's apparent despondency in his remarks to Miss whatever that name is about a contemplated family suicide, and Dr. Greason's opinions. And Dr. Greason opined that, well, actually two different ways on how it could have turned out. But anyway, to that list, the coroner says, I would add the potential for the group to have had sedatives that could have been used to end their lives. Balfour went on to submit that the following evidence supports a contrary hypothesis, namely that the members of the group are alive and living in seclusion in Australia after orchestrating their own disappearances to give the impression that they are dead. Their propensity to disassociate from mainstream society as a result of their spiritual beliefs. Simon's coercive influence over Chantal and Tony, suggesting that he could convince them to disappear with him. Chantal's application for a passport for Leela the day after Simon was stopped and questioned by Sergeant Taylor, suggesting she was complicit in a plan to leave Nannup and possibly Australia as soon as possible. I would add that Simon's disappearance 3 weeks before Chantal, Leela and Tony disappeared also suggests that it was related to Sergeant Taylor's questioning. So, yeah, Simon got pulled over and asked for ID. Simon's history of disappearing to another country with his partner. So this is he's actually from the UK, I think. Chantal's acquisition of $6,000 in cash through the bank withdrawals of the sale of pets, giving the financial means to pay for short-term living expenses. Their preparatory behaviour before their disappearance, namely arranging for utility disconnections, paying off credit cards, selling vehicles and pets. To this, I would add Mrs. Crouch's evidence that Chantal and Leela left the house. That when Chantal and Leela left the house, they removed the bedding and the towels, which was consistent with a plan to use it elsewhere. And then their deceptions, namely Simon's ability to assume false identity. To this, I would add Miss Smith's evidence of Simon telling people he was going to America when he intended to go Australia. That was when he left UK. Chantal not declaring Simon as Leela's father. Concealing their true intentions as to their place of relocation. The strong likelihood of the use of the name J. Roberts to book and travel on Trans WA tickets. That's Transport WA, just so you know what that is. Chantal's failure to dispel Mr. Sankar's understanding that Simon had committed that and then indicating to her parents that he had gone ahead to Brazil. I would add that Chantal's apparent lack of grief and unexplained disappearance to another room when speaking with Miss French may indicate that Simon was still alive at the time. Phone calls to and from Chantal's phone by people who denied knowing her or other members of the group, implying that those people may have been complicit in the disappearance. Oh my God, how many have we got to go? Not many. No evidence of the acquisition of illicit thingies or the stockpiling of medications to facilitate the S word. No evidence of that ideation on part of Chantal or Tony. To this, I would add that the evidence of Miss Smith and Mr. Sankar, my own limited reading of Simon's books and the attempts of Simon's online associates to dissuade him from doing that, did not suggest that that was a tenet of his spiritual beliefs, despite the actions of Mr. Fomenov Mr. Helgeson and Miss Parrott. Tony potentially wanting to disassociate from his family to avoid shame or embarrassment from his conviction for disorderly conduct relating to public acts. I didn't know that. Okay, that one was new to me. I speed read this, so I'm learning some stuff here as well. The 4 reported sightings of Simon, Chantal, and Leela in the vicinity of Dunsborough and Brusselton, the 7 to 10 months after they had disappeared from Nannup. The record of a man using the name Gary Felton when staying at the Emu Point Caravan Park in February 2011, that was actually confirmed. I would add the evidence that the possibility that members of the group left Australia on a cargo ship from Fremantle was not excluded. So they couldn't get passenger records to check if they know they didn't leave by plane, so they could check all of those records, but they couldn't check the ships. So Fremantle off of Perth, one of the main ports off of Perth, actually do have cruise ships and all sorts of stuff that go overseas essentially. So we have like Sydney and Brisbane are 2 main ports where that would happen, and then we also have Fremantle on the other side. So you're welcome, Shari. All right, what else did I miss? Similar Colin suicide manner happened in. Yeah, see, this is what we're trying to work out. Is it related? Did they rename themselves and pop up somewhere else? Because we can't rule that out. You know, we can assume the worst, and I'm sure the parents are, but assuming the worst and actually knowing are 2 different things, right? So, yeah, essentially, you know, there's 2 hypotheses here. They just, you know, went off to live off on their own somewhere, and there's not too many places that they could do this, like particularly in today, in like 2024, maybe back in, you know, 28, 9, 10, maybe that was possible, but I don't know about today. So yes, Rachel, they could have left by ship, so that one they couldn't rule out. And I find this really strange because they do literally say in 2017 the people who leave by ship may be able to avoid border force. So I find that really hard to believe, but they're admitting it right there in the coroner's report. So oh yes, haven't we all, Shari? But yeah, I do try to do, you know, Australian and American, you know, metric and imperial and degrees, like Celsius and Fahrenheit, miles and kilometers. I try to do all of that. So anyway, right, it is interesting, right? Because we can't really say any which way, can we? But the doctor, the good doctor here, like let me get back to the good doctor's report. Dr. Geeson made all of these points. So Dr. Geeson is a forensic behavioural analyst for Wapol Major Crime Division. Wapol means Western Australia Police. So in her report, she described her impressions of Simon's Chantel's and Tony's personalities, and as noted earlier, her understanding of his beliefs. She then provided opinions that Simon was likely to have done that to himself. She took into account that he had tendencies to steal identities and use false names, but understood that those tendencies occurred prior to his spiritual awakening. She said it was difficult to eliminate the possibility that he was alive under another identity, but if he were, she would expect that he would emerge on the internet as a spiritual leader under a different identity. And this is what I'm thinking too. She said that determining if that were the case would require a thorough analysis and comparison of esoteric writings. Herein is our project, guys. If we know of something that's popped up in Massachusetts or wherever, maybe we should do some of this comparing thing. She considered that not doing that to himself would undermine his credibility as being a spiritual superior if he were discovered, and he was too narcissistic to risk that. In addition, he had grown increasingly troubled and despondent, consistent with the helplessness and hopelessness expressed by Mr. Fominov and Mr. Helgeson. Now we're back to Alexander's a Mister. How confusing. And Miss Parrot in their notes. Chantel's pliable and passive nature and a tendency to easily be influenced and submit to instructions from Simon, together with the belief that it was not really death but an ascension transformation, made it likely that she and Leela were not with us. That conclusion also took into account that after Simon supposedly did that, they began to sell or give away property and remove their personal effects from the house, signaling a planned intention to leave permanently. The story of going to Brazil was a ruse to avoid any scrutiny. And I think I'm going with that too. Let me just stop the reading for a second and see what you guys say. Do you reckon that too? Pittsfield is closer to New York. It's also surrounded by rural areas. Easily enough. Yeah. They make it look like that. That's exactly, yeah. Yep. So what do you guys think? You think the story of going to Brazil was a ruse to avoid any scrutiny? Because I'm thinking it looks that way. But we can't rule it out because they couldn't get records on the ships, right? I don't know. How do we get talking about the McAlberts? What did I miss? All right, I don't want to get sidetracked because this is really in depth. The story of going to Brazil was a ruse to avoid any scrutiny and questions as to their intentions. The lack of money and lack of activity on Chantel's bank account meant that they did not travel far from Nannup or stay alive for very long. Her lack of contact with her family was completely out of character, which supports that conclusion. Tony's apparent belief in at least the values, attitude, and lifestyle associated with Simon's spiritual beliefs included the ascension process, and Tony's action in preparing to leave Nannup permanently suggests that he is not with us. An important part of those actions was in posting Joseph his papers and the power of attorney forms, and in apologizing for being a crap brother. As with Chantel, his lack of contact with his family was completely out of character. And as noted above, the medical records show that Chantel, Tony, and Simon obtained Serapax and diazepam from their doctors in the time leading up to their disappearance. Simon was also prescribed Doloxine for pain management. Oh, come on, stop giving me all of these medical names. mirtazapine for sleeping, naloxone for nausea, and okay, I give up. Antipsychotic or sedative. The drugs may have been stockpiled to initiate a peaceful passing, as Simon told Miss whatever her name is, with the naloxone used to ensure that the drugs would be metabolized and not purged. The use So this is what the judge makes of basically what she said. Anyway, I think that it's still both ways, right? There's nothing really there that gives us an idea which way this has gone. Did I get kidnapped? Sorry. Kidnapped again. Ah, stop kidnapping me, Starlink. You suck. I think there could have been money stashed, but you know, they did a bunch of stuff. They had a dog that had puppies, and so they gave away some of the puppies to, like, I think the pet store or something, and then they advertised the dogs, the parents of the pups, and I think one pup. There was a lot of organisation that went down with it. They also sold her car, Simon's car, and Tony also sold his car. Yep. That's why I found it really, really interesting. Exactly. Miss Garbage Brain. Oh, Miss Garbage Brain. I just clicked. You've been helping me research this on X. So thank you for that. Yeah, it's a really puzzling case. And it was just so weird that it's linked to allegedly. It's just so weird that it's linked to Massachusetts, right? And then in our little searches, we actually weren't finding anything linking any of these names to Massachusetts, except Miss Garbage Brain actually did find Ms. Parrot. So I think Miss Garbage Brain's Massachusetts, but I'll let her answer that. But yeah, this is a really weird case. And I reckon, you know, if there's some weird cult that's popped up in America, maybe we should look at, like, comparing the styles. And I mean, because, like, as we've noticed with all the bloody people pretending to be somebody else on X, once you know a person's, like, writing style, and even the way they pick stupid aliases, and it's always got a pattern. A Bostonian in Ireland. There you go. A Bostonian in Ireland has been helping me, like, work out what the heck's what. So the patterns in his beliefs, I believe, is what's going to be, you know, a key sort of thing. If we assume that the good doctor knows what she's talking about, and he's alive. All right, we've got evidence that someone walked away from that. We don't know which male it was, but one of the men walked away from that. And we have evidence of that up to 2011. So from 2008, I think it is, telling family and friends to move to Brazil. From 2006, they have a whole bunch of travel, like from train stations and bus tickets and all sorts of different things. And then 2011, where's the 2011 thing that happened? 2011 is the caravan park. Let's find that, which I thought was very interesting. December the 1st, 2011. Oh my God. How many times has it got to be in there? Stop it. The caravan park. Augusta. Kings Park near a toilet block. Okay, the pizza driver. So this was a sighting. A man who ran a pedal in a children's amusement park about 1 kilometre out of Dunsborough contacted Busselton Police Station in April 2008. A woman and a child who, like Chantal and Leela in photos in the media, attended the park. But then there was Victoria Park. The subscribers for the number were a couple. I can do a lot of things on her phone. Here we go. Records for the Emu Park Caravan Park indicated that on the 22nd of February 2011, a person using the name Gary Felton, his actual real name, incidentally, checked in overnight and paid cash for a powered site for 2 people. He claimed to be a Top Tourist member. However, Top Tourist Parks is a national network of affiliated holiday parks. Members of the public can join the network and receive benefits. Top Tourist Parks informed investigators that there had been no membership in the name of Gary Felton. But the caravan park did have him on their records as having booked in. So investigators conducted interviews with all with that name who lived in Australia and eliminated them as being the man who checked into Emu Park. So there's that. At least something at the end of the day. They actually checked something. Right? Yes, you would think there would be tells, Rachel. I reckon there's going to be tells. Well, it was all at different times, Miss Garbage Brain. So 1 week after this family purportedly did the roo-roo, the Canadian couple did it. But then a year later, Parrott and Helgeson did it. So, yeah, it's interesting, right? It feels like maybe Parrott and Helgeson, it feels like he could have continued on, right? have I had dead air? I haven't even been looking. Have I been going dead on yous? Stupid Starlink crap. Sorry. I was reading a post by Elon Musk the other day, gloating about how his Starlink works everywhere on the planet except my fucking belly. So, there's some interesting stuff here, but I don't know. I don't know how easy it is to, like, go and find these things, these like cultish things going on, and then find their writings or whatever. I don't know. I don't associate with that sort of crap, so I don't really know how hard or easy that thing is to research. Anyone got any ideas on that? It's probably because I'm tired that I'm not, coming up with any of my own ideas right now. I could have done with a whole night's sleep, but what I was trying to do just by going live now was kill the 2 hours till Rita's live, because I can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep, get 2 hours sleep, then wake up and be, not brain dead, even though I am actually half brain dead. But I mean, I'd be fully brain dead if I tried to sleep. Mr. Cornish went to Wales. Story checks out. Yes. So what do you reckon, guys? You reckon we should, like, keep our eyes peeled? Maybe that's a better project, Shari. I don't know. I just thought it would be an interesting little side project for anyone who was interested. Crowdsourcing brain dead. Can we crowdsource some brains for Rita's interview? I hope she's not expecting me to hold the fort. I'm just gonna have to do, some fake getting kidnapped by the soul. Solar panels? You think solar panels might interfere with the Starlink? We haven't got any solar panels, but I'm looking to get some at the next address, but not at this one. It's actually trees. Something Elon forgot to mention is Starlink doesn't work in the forest under trees. All right. I think we've done enough here. Oh my God. Kidnapped again. Yes, Shari, I'm with you now. I did say I would love to have solar panels provided by Musk. I'm following you now. Good question, Rachel. So in this document, I'm going to have time to read it because I've got to hang up shortly and get on to Rita. But in this document, his teachings and his writings are actually described. I'm not going to read it, but I will share this document. Now, I forget. Someone shared this on X as well, but I can actually post it. Where do we talk about his spiritual beliefs, which were on page 18? service of the divine plan and the new call. And I do not pretend to understand or appreciate fully the spiritual views within them. I recognize the elements of Christianity and Buddhism, including Zen Buddhism, but there's also quotations from Tolstoy and Thoreau cited. From what I saw, the overriding message was a need to lose the ego and to devote oneself to the enlightenment of humanity through a sort of universal love. The language used, especially in the New Call, is grandiose and replete with hyperbole and unsupported assertions, some of which appeared bizarre to me. So yeah, there's quite a bit here on his beliefs. So maybe we will have let's do another session on the topic and talk about it. What do you reckon? Yeah. Sure. That sounds good. Has got to get some sleep. Oh, you're in Ireland. That's why. Yep. Go to sleep, Miss Garbage Brain. Don't do what I did and watch YouTube until 2 o'clock in the morning and then discover some interesting story and stay awake all night. Nate? You mean Nate from Nate, the reporter from Chad Daybell's case? Is that what you're talking about? Yes, another sesh. I reckon we'd need to do another sesh, Glenn. What do you reckon? And then I'll read through all these beliefs and stuff, and maybe by then we'll have found, the website. I don't know if the website's still up. This was back in 2013. No one's been paying the website fees. Well, hang on. Wait, has someone been paying the website fees? All right. There's more work to be done here. There's a lot more work to be done here, guys. So, Nate Eaton, yeah, I thought you see you're talking about. And how to search the the web. I don't know that the dark web would help, but all right. So, yes, let's do another session. Let's read more about his beliefs, and also what the good doctor says about his beliefs, and also maybe there's some other websites connected to the website. Maybe someone's been paying the website fees and it's still up. These are things I didn't think to check. So found some articles on the couple. All right, so let me hang up from this so I can get another coffee and get my brain in order for Rita. We do have Rita in half an hour, folks. A little bit more than half an hour. So another miss. What did you miss, David? He may know then. Well, he might know more, Shari. That's true. Yeah. Do the roo-roo, guys, and see what we come up with. Yes, it is 8:25 a.m. right now. That sounds like a great idea. Rachel, let's put our heads together and see what we come up with. I mean, it's a nice little sidetrack from sitting around waiting for Karen Reid trial to get going. Abby and I have still got some stuff to cover on the Carol Baskin case. The Don Lewis case. So there is no, I haven't slept at all. yeah, we still got more to cover on the Don Lewis case. Like, so I got to go away on Tuesday for a road trip, and then I'll be back like really late Wednesday night, and maybe sleeping all day Thursday. But later in the week, Abby and I'll be doing at least another stream on the Sallyport video. She wants to just do like a wrap up stream to like wrap up everything that we've learned so far. So that will be later in the week, and then by then hopefully Ripper Jack will be back from his travels, and we can have him on to talk about the Don Lewis case. He's got some updates to give us on like the current happenings in the Don Lewis case, so I'm really keen for that. And then in between all of that, we can do some more streams on this case, and that'll keep us all preoccupied while we're waiting for the appeals court to do its thing. I very much doubt Karen Reid's case is going to be in January. I don't know how snowed under the Supreme Court is. When it was just going to be one judge looking at everything, I could see it happening a lot sooner. But now it's a whole panel of judges, and all of those judges have to be free on the same day. So I can see that taking longer to organise and set a date. So yeah, we're going to be twiddling our thumbs waiting for either, the appeal, or if the appeal fails, then a second trial. So this sounds like exciting stuff to me to do in the meantime. What do you guys reckon? I mean, everyone's doing all the other cases to death, so, I'm happy to let them have the other cases. I just want to branch out and look at some things. And this was serendipity, that this is related to people who were in Massachusetts and the way the cops behaved in this case. It was serendipity. I reckon, anyway. Yeah, I think it might take a while. I'm going to Starlink, you suck. Okay, I'm going to sign off and go and organise some things with Rita. So you'll come back now here because we're on with Rita shortly. Noah Govable to input city zip code. Look at dates for precipitation. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. Right, so this report, where do you find this report, Rachel? I will do a community post and put a link to the report for you all to look at, okay? But I'm thinking we need to read some more of that report anyway, but no sleep till Brooklyn. No, it's no sleep till after Rita. I'll post a community post with a link to the coroner's report so you all can read it, and then organise another live stream to talk about it when we've all put a bit of research together. If you're on X, hit me up on X, because that's where I'm brainstorming with the brains. Or just, if you don't have X, yeah, I'll post the link in community posts and we can do some brainstorming there. So I'll talk to you all in half an hour with Rita. Ciao.